Hi, my name is Margie and welcome to my kitchen today. What I've made today are pumpkin cookies, and with the holidays coming up, this is a wonderful contribution to any table, on a dessert table or as part of a cookie tray. It has so much flavor, and you can add things like raisins and dates. Now I've added chocolate chips and walnuts, but this is really a very simple recipe. It's a very nice little moist, cakey cookie, and I've used an icing that dries very nicely so they store very well. So I'm going to get started right away. The first thing I'm doing for this recipe is I have in this strainer, I have 2 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, a teaspoon of cinnamon, and a half a teaspoon of salt. And I'm just going to go ahead and sift that. I actually could have just used a little wire whisk, but this is more fun. And then I'm going to combine some of these other ingredients here. I have 1 cup of pumpkin, and the pumpkin that I use is, I use Libby's, and this is pure pumpkin. There's no spices in it or eggs or anything. This is a half a cup of vegetable oil, 1 cup of sugar, 1 egg, and my favorite is 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I love vanilla. So those are the liquid ingredients. I'll go ahead and give those a stir. Now in here I have 1 teaspoon of milk and 1 teaspoon of baking soda, a piece of chocolate in there, and I'm just going to combine that together, which is kind of interesting. Just going to combine that. Kind of an odd thing to do, but what this recipe calls for. And then you want to actually just combine all these ingredients together. So first you're putting things together separately, then you're putting things together. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add this to that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add this to that. And by the way, I have my oven turned on to 375. I'm putting this together by hand, mostly because I'm just too lazy to pull out my big mixer. And I often actually do mix cookies by hand. And I have a little paper towel here I'm just going to put down under my bowl. My mom taught me to help the bowl from sliding around. So I'm just going to go ahead and slowly stir this in by hand. I kind of enjoy that. I think that's good. So everything's together, and now I have my walnuts, and it calls for a cup of each. I'm just going to go ahead and dump some in here, and these are chocolate chunks that I use this really good chocolate when I make candy, and so I always like to use that chocolate instead of chocolate chips. You could put raisins. I think raisins with the spices and the pumpkin are really very good. Okay, so I'm just going to scrape the sides down. So I have some little cookie sheets. I say little because I normally use full sheet pans in my big oven. But today, I'm using these little ones. And I always use parchment paper. I found it. It's a little scoop. So you want to make a good tablespoon, just a good tablespoon. You could put 3 in a row. So now I'm ready to put them into my oven. And they're going to bake for about 10 to 12 minutes, 375. Okay, so the cookies, the little bell went off for 10 minutes. Let's see how they look. Whoop, that's not done. That is not even near done. So we'll put it on for a couple of more minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to sift 2 cups of powdered sugar just to prepare myself for the icing. I have a half a cup of butter. I think you don't have to stir this as much when you're cooking it if you strain it first. Summer's over and it's a little bit lumpy from the humidity. So it saves a little time. Plus you might actually find a little pebble in your powdered sugar. So the timer's going off again for the cookies. See? Oh, they're coming back. And they'll continue to cook also. This icing is very simple. 1 stick of butter, which is a half a cup. So we'll just start by melting it down. I'm going to turn this off. Go ahead and add my sugar. It's going to get lumpy and look weird because the sugar has to melt. Okay, so carefully. I cook on a pretty high flame, that's why I turn things off. That has separated out, and if you just continue to stir it, it will stir right back in. But all of the butter is mixed in. It's really beautiful icing. I'm going to add the vanilla now. I'm going to I like to turn off my oven when I add the alcohol and vanilla because sometimes it cooks up like that and you don't want to get splattered. So the nice thing about this is that the icing will turn a little bit off color because of the vanilla, which I like on this pumpkin cookie. So right about now you kind of want to start icing your cookies. Oh, well, maybe that's a good idea. There you go, you can do it like that. Let's try another one like that. Just dip it in. Wow. You don't get that little, I like a little bit of a decoration on top. Well, that's clever. Guess that's how they got peanut butter and chocolate, right? Now I'm going to show you that you actually can reheat this. And it smooths out a little bit, see? The icing gets very dry very quickly. See how it looks inside. How does it taste? That's good.